my house. You know what? The family fucked my husband. And what are you gonna say, huh? Terry, what? Terry, what?
Can we talk about
Can we talk about what?
First off, I haven't watched this movie in years. I was probably a teenager when I last saw this movie. And when I say there are so many things that I noticed watching this now at this big age, and we'll discuss some of those things later. But the biggest thing that I noticed, and one that we must address, is that Teri carried that whole family on her back. And she had every right to be fucking over it. Y'all, let's get into it. So the movie starts off at Bird's and Lem's wedding. Bird is one of the sisters. The other two are Maxine and Teri. And baby, they got food at this wedding. No hot wings and rotel to be found. And I am not mad at it. We meet Ahmad, who is Maxine's son, and Big Mama, who is their mother. And we're also introduced to this hungry ass, freaky ass pastor. But we'll get back to him later. So Bird's ex shows up at her wedding, and this dude has issues with boundaries. And at the same token, Bird has issues with setting them. Obviously, her new husband, Lem, lacks this same ability because his ex also showed up at the wedding. Now, initially, I thought that this was just some random woman at the party, but no, it's his raggedy ex. But anyway, Bird's ex tries to throw money at her. This is what he does. And the fact that he felt comfortable enough to do that at her wedding in front of everybody, the fact both of their exes felt comfortable doing that, I don't know. Anyway, Big Mama tells Ahmad to go get Bird so that she can come and get her husband. Personally, we would have dragged his ex and her ex out of the party, but I guess. And while this is happening, we go to the sisters who are in the bathroom and they tell Bird what's going on with Lem. So while she's going to check on him, Maxine says that that's what she gets by bringing someone into the family that doesn't have anything. And Teri quickly corrects her by saying, no, they actually putting them off on me because I was the one that paid for this wedding. And Maxine instantly tries to bring her down by saying, why you always got to remind somebody what you paid for? And this is something that happens repeatedly throughout this movie, so much so that I decided to add a counter every time we learn something else that Teri has paid for. But back to the story. So after coming back from seeing her new husband dancing with his ex, Bird has a complete meltdown. The way I would have yanked both of their asses off their dance floor, child, yeah. So the sisters decide to go out to address Slim, his ex, but Big Mama has already fixed the situation by somehow getting rid of the ex and dancing with Lim. Big Mama was hitting them shoulders, child. So we have a flashback of all the Sunday dinners that they've had over the years, and we learn more about how the tradition of Sunday dinners started and Big Mama's late husband, who is a business owner, and how Big Mama supposedly has money stashed in the house somewhere. We get back to the creepy ass pastor who makes it his business to come over to eat every Sunday and also kiss on the daughters. Shit is weird. And we also learn about Uncle Pete, who suffers from mental illness and stays in his room and never comes out. See, this is the 90s, so people, especially black people, we never acknowledged or discussed mental health. So we go to present day where the sisters are in the kitchen preparing Sunday dinner with Big Mama. Bird can't cook, child. She about to give everybody a stroke with the amount of salt she was about to add in. Lem, Bird's husband, comes in and requests her services in front of her mama. See, I had an old school mama and grandmama. Wasn't none of that going on in their house, in their presence. But anyway, Big Mama thinks it's cute and starts laughing. Teri brings up the fact that Bird needs to focus on getting the shop together instead of running behind her new husband, because she paid for the shop too. Maxine invalidates her again by saying that she's not hurting because she gave her money for the shop. And my thing is, how does she know? And it's her money. Teri should be able to feel how she feels about her money. The same money she gave Bird could have been money for her to treat herself or invest in something that she has interest in. Big Mama stops them from bickering by putting them both in their places. And Big Mama tells Teri to cool it and focus on her own man since she's on husband number 2. So later, Ahmad is in the kitchen and he places a towel on the stove, and Big Mama warns him not to do so because he can start a fire. And while Big Mama is taking a pot off the stove, she ends up burning her arm and doesn't even know it. Maxine asks her if she's been taking her insulin, and Big Mama gets upset. She doesn't want to take her insulin and insists on taking herbs for her diabetes. Bad idea. Diabetes is so hard on the body, and it's something that you have no choice but to stay on top of because things can go real bad real quick. So they are finally about to eat Sunday dinner, and child, the spread is giving Thanksgiving. It's giving holiday season. If y'all eat like that on a regular Sunday, what is it looking like on Christmas and Easter? My God. Anyway, so the creepy pastor says grace.
Beautiful breath and delicious legs under the on the table.
So after, Big Mama tells everybody that she dreamed of fishes last night, and it means that somebody's either pregnant or somebody's coming. So they begin to discuss other superstitions, and Bird insists on people trying her burnt ass crab cakes. It's a no-go, obviously, and Maxine starts insulting Teri, talking about she can't cook. And they start going back and forth, and we get the backstory of their feud. So the story goes like this. Initially, Kenny and Teri were dating, and anytime one of the sisters went out on a date, they had to bring the other sisters with them. So while Teri was on a date with Kenny, Maxine was there as well. And so they are at this skating rink, and while Maxine is skating, showing off, she falls. Kenny goes to help her up, and boom, they look at each other and fall in love. Then, later, Teri catches them making out in his car, and they get in a huge fight. And there has never been any loyalty whatsoever, at least not to Teri. So, we are back to everybody at the table, and then out the blue, Kenny asks Lim why he was locked up prior. I mean, he just outright asks, no easing into it. But Lim tells him the truth. He got caught up helping his cousin sell stuff. And so Big Mama tells a story about how she had to save the family from going broke and losing their home due to her late husband's gambling habit. And while she's talking, good old cousin Faye shows up uninvited. Everyone is shocked. Apparently, Faye stays with the shit, and every time she pops up, shit pops off. And she's been a lost soul ever since her mom passed. Apparently, this is all a little too much because soon after, Maxine goes into labor. So later, Big Mama goes to the doctor and finds out that there is no blood circulating to her leg and she has to get it amputated. But she's upset about it and refuses to go through with the procedure. We then cut to Bird at her shop. Her ex pops up yet again. Lack of boundaries. He's always bringing up money. He gives like pimp energy. He's a real asshole too. He gives her a bracelet as a wedding gift, and she takes it like a dummy. We then go to Kenny and Maxine, and Kenny has bought the kids a computer, and they are still so in love. It's kind of cute to see. He decides to put on a song they can dance to and bust his best moves.
Soundstripe.
Child, he trying to dust that thing off before her 6 weeks. They gonna mess around and have Irish twins, okay? So Lim ends up stopping by, and he needs someone to talk to since he was just fired for lying on his application about being arrested. And Lim wants to tell Bird, but Kenny convinces him not to tell her, which was the worst advice ever. Ever.
Don't tell him.
These are not healthy thoughts. Quite toxic. Anyway, we then go to Teri, Miles, and Ahmad, who's staying over, and they are eating dinner and talking about work. Cousin Faye shows up. Apparently, she's staying with Teri now. And while Ahmad goes to open the door for Faye, Teri brings up that some money is missing out of savings. Miles let her know that he took some money out to buy some recording equipment, and they get into an argument about how he needs to focus on being a lawyer and not so much music. So she doesn't support his dreams, which this is gonna end badly. He gets even more pissed off and ends up walking off. And Terry suggests that next time he tells her when he gets money out of their account. And this is why they need separate accounts. And Faye walks up and speaks to Terry, and Terry is already annoyed and counting down the days, which is, I totally get it. I totally understand. So we go to the day of Big Mama's surgery, and she's talking to everyone before she goes under, and she tells Ahmad to be strong and tells Maxine that she will have to be the strong one now. Almost like she knew she might not make it. I'm not sure. But later, they receive bad news. Big Mama ends up having a stroke during surgery and falls into a coma, and it's not looking too good. Later, we go to Lim, who is desperately trying to get another job, but he keeps getting rejected due to him being arrested. I feel bad for him, and I really wish he would have just told Bird what's up. That is his wife. Later, he runs into Ahmad and picks him up. He tells him that he lost his job and he's looking for another and not to tell Bird. Ahmad is clearly an old soul because these adults love confiding in him. Ahmad ends up giving him a good piece of advice.
No. Mamas always say you gotta love yourself. Maybe you should try that.
Back at the hospital, Maxine mentions that she still wants to host Sunday dinner. Lord, why are they arguing over their mother's body like this? Like she can't hear them. And Teri throws the fact that she went to law school in her face again, and they decided to take a vote on it, and really nobody voted but Kenny, and that was against his will. They end up getting kicked out of the room because they are disturbing their mother and other patients. And what's so crazy is that the one thing they were fighting over, having Sunday dinner, was a waste of time because neither one of them showed up to it. And maybe that was for the best because Bird burnt everything. Even Uncle Pete didn't want that shit. With everything that's going on with Big Mama, Miles tries to lighten the mood and get Teri to dance with him. She refuses and also tells him that she can't make it to his gig. Apparently, this is a habit and she never tries to support him. And he tells her that he wants to pursue his music full time, and she tells him it's a mistake. Now, looking back on this, like I can see like her feeling, I guess, resentment, because a Miles can go and he can pursue other things while I feel like she can't, because she has so many, like she's basically taking care of so much within the family. Like she's everyone's go-to. So it's like she's making good money and she needs to keep making money in order to do all these things for the family. So she really has no choice. She has to do what she does. Meanwhile, Miles has an option. So maybe there was some resentment there. I don't know. But then Faye walks in and Teri instantly starts berating her about finding a job. And Faye tells her about an audition she has coming up, and Teri takes a hard left and starts going in. Faye has a wild history, having people co-sign for a car and not paying the car note, getting arrested and having Big Mama put up the house to post bail. Just wild. Anyways, y'all remember this song? Babyface always makes the best soundtracks. Immaculate. Waiting to Excel will always be his best one. I should do a review on that one. But anyway, so we are at Miles' gig and they are sounding good. And guess who showed up to support him out the kindness of her heart? Good old Faye. So they have a convo about pursuing their dreams, and she tells him about her dancing and how it's her passion. And they have a connection, but of course the lines will start to blur, like her asking him to dance. Girl, that's your cousin's man. What are you doing? So we go to Bird, and she and her friends show up at the house, and they're clowning her over the leftovers she made for the Sunday dinner.
Now I know when none of her people showed up. Miss Thing can't cook.
They hear some noise in the house, and when they go to check it out, they find Lim in the bathroom. He confesses that he lost his job, and he and Bird get into an argument about him not telling her, and she offers to help him, but he's too proud to accept the help.
I don't need your help. I can find my own damn job.
My dude, yes you do. Place your ego to the side, bro. My goodness. We then cut to Faye, who is arguing with some guy on the street, and Miles is driving by and he stops to help her out. Faye asks him to play the piano for her audition, and he agrees to do it. Y'all listen, I thought this routine was so fire when I was younger. Now looking at it, it was kind of basic. But this move right here, that's my shit. Faye is plotting. Old habits die hard. So we go back to Bird. Child. Bird makes the dumbest decision ever. She convinces her ex to pull some strings to get her new husband a job. The ex that still wants her. He agrees to this, but it comes at a cost. And I highly doubt this dude ever does anything out the kindness of his heart. We then cut to Lim coming home, and Bird got candles all out, roses all over. She knew he was getting the job before he did. And all this was so suspicious. Kudos to her, I guess, because she let him think that he did it on his own with a little help from Kenny. Kenny didn't have nothing to do with it. Later, while Lim is on the job, he's having a great first day. And while on lunch, she gets a visit from Bird's ex, the one who actually got him the job. And I'm surprised he didn't recognize him from the wedding. And this asshole couldn't even give him a week apiece. He picked with him on his first day on the job. He couldn't wait to rub it in his face. And he then tells Lim that he is the reason he got the job and that he used to date Bird. He even makes a joke about her body shape as if he had no fears. No worries though, because Lim pops that ass. After this, of course, Lim gets fired. Baby, when I tell you Lim is pissed, and honestly he has every right to be, because this whole thing was messy as fuck. But anyway, he shows up to Bird's shop and he pulls her into the bathroom and they get into it. He's angry, he's going off, and he ends up pushing her. Somehow, Teri ends up at the shop, and instead of getting the cops involved, she calls a cousin to beat Lim up. Baby, Lim goes to the bar to try and clear his mind. He's drinking heavily, and the bartender ends up knowing the family and calls Teri to have somebody to pick him up. But Teri sends the cousin to fight him, but Lim ends up pulling out a gun on him and gets arrested. It was a hot mess. This whole situation got bigger and bigger, and it all started off of one lie and a whole lot of ego. We then go to Miles and Faye, and Faye ended up landing the audition, and Miles tells her that he gave his 2-week notice. They end up celebrating and getting drunk. I guess these two served a purpose for each other. She needed someone to confide in who wasn't going to judge her, and he needed support, which he wasn't getting from Teri. But while they're having a conversation, he points out that Faye is lying to herself about not needing anybody, and she feels called out. After, Miles goes to the studio and she follows him up there. And of course, she does what she's known to do, and she sleeps with Miles. She ain't shit, Miles ain't shit, they both ain't shit for this, period. And while this is happening, Teri and Ahmad show up at the house. They go looking for him, and Teri ends up catching Miles and Faye having sex. Now, a part of me wonders what would have happened if Ahmad wasn't there. I wish we could have seen it, but instead, she ends up doing nothing to prevent Ahmad from seeing them, and she heads over to Maxine and Kenny's anniversary party. After Mal and Faye finishes doing the do, it's like they both have instant regret. Listen, Faye's moral compass is completely screwed up. So we go to Maxine's and Kenny's 11th year anniversary party. Faye showed up at the party. She's a brave one. And they are getting it in on the dance floor, okay? Meanwhile, Teri is trying to hold it together. She sees Miles and walks off and goes to the kitchen. Kenny sees her crying and tries to comfort her until all the others come in. Maxine starts to discuss Big Mama's hospital bills, and of course, they agree to have Teri pay for it and then they will pay her back. They didn't even ask. And then they told her and Miles, because they put his name in it too. Teri is not going for it, and she suggests that they put the house up, and honestly, I agree. Maxine and Bird refuses to make that an option because their parents work so hard to get it, but Teri works hard for her money, and y'all keep thinking her money is y'all money, and that ain't it. Teri is already paying the taxes and utilities on the home. Mind you, Lim and Bird are probably staying in their home bill-free. But it's when Kenny suggests that she thinks about the family that she lets it be known that Faye had sex with Miles. Baby Miles asks her, can they talk? Teri sees red, as she should, because y'all are driving her crazy. There is so much more I want to say, but I will save that for my final thoughts. So we go to Ahmad, who is visiting Big Mama in the hospital, and she ends up coming out of her coma briefly, and she's talking to Ahmad. But before she can tell him her final wishes, she starts coughing and is unable to finish what she was trying to tell him. And unfortunately, she ends up passing. I believe she was going to tell him about the money and where it was. But she's gone now, and they have the funeral. Child, Faye and Miles show up at the funeral. I guess. It's just too much. So after the funeral, Maxine goes to Big Mama's house, which Teri has already put the house up for sale. And as she's walking into the house, she sees Uncle Pete. He's finally came out of his room. And he probably felt the shift and knew his sister was gone, even though his mind couldn't fully comprehend it yet. I don't know. It's sad, honestly. Later, the girls meet with Teri to discuss selling Big Mama's house, and Maxine tells her they're stopping the sale of the house and are drawing up a cease and desist, which makes no sense because it's almost like they're trying to force Teri to pay the hospital bills and the taxes and the utilities on the home. Because, I mean, who else is going to pay it? If Teri stops paying everything, especially the taxes, y'all going to lose the house anyway. This scene had me fire hot because it's almost like Teri is the go-to, the end-all be-all, and she's never given an option. It's complete BS. So Teri walks out, which is completely understandable. Bird goes to the bathroom because she's feeling nauseous. Turns out Bird was the fish in Big Mama's dream. She's sad about Lim and she misses him, and he doesn't have a clue that she's pregnant. Child. So we go to Ahmad, and Ahmad has this bright idea to get everyone together for Sunday dinner. He feels that this is what Big Mama was trying to tell him when she passed. But Ahmad knows that after everything that's happened, it's going to take a miracle to bring everyone together. So he makes up a lie saying that Big Mama told him about the money she hid and that he was split it with them. My main thing is, why did he tell the lie to everybody, including people married into the family, like Lim and Miles? Miles just cheated on your auntie with your cousin, and then you told that heifer the same story too. Baby, I just don't understand. But all the greedy asses believed him and made plans to come over Sunday. So, one by one, everyone shows up for Sunday dinner. The sisters are in the kitchen, cooking like they used to. All the food looks so good and low vibrational. Perfection. And Ahmad's plan is coming together, even though everybody is side-eyeing him. Anyway, Miles shows up and Teri is not here for it. And meanwhile, Ahmad is awkwardly excited.
Hey, Miles, what's up, man? How you doing?
Lim comes in and sees Bird for the first time since he got out of jail. And Faye comes through the door. Again, she's the brave one. She tries to leave, but Ahmad convinces her to stay. So they are all seated for Sunday dinner, and even the creepy-ass pastor showed up again. So They're all eating, and Lim lets everyone know that he got his job back. And Teri lets him know that she called in a favor to get him out of jail. Lim confronts her, and she tells him that he should be grateful because now he can take care of his pregnant wife. Bird hasn't even gotten a chance to tell him she was pregnant. Yeah, Teri was wrong for that one. She was. So Bird airs her out by saying that she needs to focus on her husband and why he's sleeping with Faye. Again, Faye tries to leave, but Maxine tells her to stay. She would not have the same energy if it was her man that she slept with. But anyway, so Teri and Miles finally have a conversation and realize they haven't been happy for a while. And Miles then makes a comment about the money, and I don't know why he did that, child. So everybody figures out they've been told the same thing by Ahmad, and Ahmad is called in to explain himself, and he gets upset because all he wanted is for the family to come together, and he believes that's what Big Mama would have wanted. So while all of this is happening, they start to smell something burning in the kitchen. Ahmad ended up leaving a towel on the stove, and now the kitchen is on fire. While they're fighting the fire and getting it under control, Uncle Pete comes into the kitchen. The family hasn't seen this man in years, and he drops his TV, which is stuffed with cash. So it took all of this to find out that the myth was indeed true, and Big Mama did have a stash. Big Mama had racks, okay? And how did she get into the TV like that? And I sincerely hope he wasn't using the TV with all that cash inside of it. Anyway. So Miles and Teri end up breaking up. Lim and Bird are expecting their child any day. And Teri and Maxine are getting along, and they ended up not selling the big house. Uncle Pete is now coming out of his room and joining in with the family, and Cousin Faye is also a part of the family now as well. And that's pretty much the end. So here are my final thoughts. I am exhausted for Teri. The family never considered her feelings, anything she had to do, anything she wanted to do with her money. I don't think they ever asked her to do anything. I think it was just expected for her to help them. And it probably was her role in the family from the beginning. She was the only sister who was quote unquote successful and well off, so everybody came to her with their money issues. They never considered her feelings either. Anytime she brought up what she paid for, they brushed it off as if to say, you got it, you not hurting, so why bring it up? But it's her money. She was paying the taxes and utilities on the house, paid for Bird's shop, paid for Bird's wedding, took in her cousin who ended up sleeping with her man, and then everyone wants to invite Faye in and make her feel comfortable without having her acknowledge that what she did to their sister was wrong. That what her husband did to their sister was wrong. It made no sense. While I didn't agree with her throwing law school in her sister's face every 5 minutes, I do believe they owed her so much more respect and consideration. She did what she was supposed to do to be able to carry herself. It shouldn't automatically be her burden when others can't or refuse to carry themselves the same. And as much as they like to rag on her, who else was going to do everything that Teri was doing? Aside from that, Bird was messy as hell for asking her ex to help her new husband get a job. She couldn't have thought that that would actually go well. At the same time, Lim should have just been honest with his wife. Like, y'all are married, y'all are in a relationship. Like, why he feel like he couldn't tell her, I don't know. Anyway, y'all, that's it for this review / commentary. I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving, and may the plates be as low vibrational as they can get. Bye.